Great, finally. Sorry for the delay if you were getting ready, if you were tuned in ready for me to start. I just, I've discovered whenever you log out of Twitch for a day or two, it forgets that this is a computer that I've used before, and so I had to send an activation code, and then that took a while, and so now it's finally online. So it finally sent me the code that I can finally get online, and then I had audio issues and I had lighting issues and various things because I haven't done this in a couple of days. So good morning. This is a stream for DGST 101 section 1, and so this is going to be the last stream that I do this semester for this class. So that's this is it. These have been fun. I think looking at the summer class, I'm going to be teaching this class again over the summer. So I think I'll be continuing to use the streaming way of delivering some class activities or content. I think in other cases, though, I think doing self-paced kind of things on your own is also a good thing. So I'm going to be thinking about the balance between those two types of activity for the summer course. In the past, when I've done the summer course, I do like one or two just sort of pre-recorded videos per week, and then I have self-paced activities throughout the week. But I think the live streams might be a good kind of third thing to add to that mix of content. So, let me know your thoughts about how this has gone. I mean, this has obviously been unexpected, the way that we've had to switch to delivering the modality of these classes this spring, but I think it's gone okay. I think it's been all right. So today what I'd like to do is, I guess, talk in general about the class, wrap things up in that sense, and remind you about the things that, if you're a student in the class, that you still need to make sure you're doing if you haven't done them yet. Many of you are done, I've noticed. Many of you have already completed the final self-evaluation, the yourdomain.com submission, the methodology thing, and that's great. So thank you for doing that, because I'm going to start working through grading all that. And the sooner I can get that, the better. Some of you are still working, and that's also fine. If you have not yet met with me or talked with me about your domain, we can certainly still do that. So please schedule that appointment if you haven't yet. And I'd be happy to talk whenever it's convenient for you. If you can't find a convenient time in the booking tool that I use, then certainly let me know so we can find an alternative time. So yeah, let's see. Like I said in Slack, the thing that I'm interested in doing today is talking about some of your projects, or you're showing them off. Like normally during the face-to-face class, I like to do that where whenever you complete a project, I ask for volunteers to kind of talk a bit about what they did and show off their work. I think it's always good to get that extra audience appreciation to kind of understand that your work has an impact and it's pretty cool and people like it. So I thought it'd be useful to have that opportunity today. But I guess in this sense, I have to be the one kind of narrating your project. So if you would like for me to show off your project, then please send it to me either in the Twitch chat or in the Slack channel, and I'd be happy to show it off. If I don't get very many volunteers, I've selected a few, and I can find some more probably, that the methodology projects, which are just now are kind of still coming in, that I found a couple that I thought were really successful, and I thought it would be good I would like to show them off. So I guess also, if you have turned one in and you would rather me not show it off, then I guess let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to take it as okay, because they're on the web and I'm not getting secret content from you. This is things that you've published, so I'm going to take that as permission to show it here on the stream. So let me actually start. I did get one volunteer from Slack, so I'm going to start with Olivia. I have these pulled up in different browsers, so I'm going to copy this into this browser here. And this goes all the way back to the creativity module. I am definitely interested in showing off any work from way back, even creativity, culture, and archaeology, web literacy, anything that you want to talk about. So this is Olivia's project, and Olivia Burnsley. There are multiple Olivias, but this is Olivia Burnsley. So thank you, Olivia, for sharing this. This is pretty cool, and you definitely went for kind of the hard way of making a GIF, like doing it the old-fashioned way. But I think what you demonstrate is really cool, first of all, but also I think what you had to kind of discover is the way that the animated GIF as a format is really linked to and has a lot in common with the early animation technologies, like the early technologies that animators had to create in order to make their things work. And so the idea of just stop motion animation, like picture, picture, picture 12 times a second, that's something that people had been doing for decades, and it's still tricky to do, but it works when you have the patience, when you deal with the lighting correctly, and when you can deal with making reasonable motions and movements between the frames. That's something that takes some skill and some practice and a lot of patience, as I can tell from your from your blog post. So this is really good. I think this is a great result. Also nicely lit. I mean, it looks really nice. And you've added the caption, "First Day Alive." Hello. I like the way, I don't know if you spent much time with the focus, but I do like the way that you have a selective focus on the characters. So like the background is there, but kind of blurred out, so it's not as much of an emphasis, and that definitely helps the characters stand out. Definitely. I don't know if you're familiar with Gumby, but it has that sort of claymation Gumby look to it, so that's pretty cool that you were able to accomplish that. So thanks for letting me show this work, and thanks for putting it out here. This is the kind of thing that, when we talk about what to do with your domains, like your main domain, this is the kind of thing that would be great to feature on that. Like you've got an animated GIF, so if you put together a portfolio of projects, of course you can link to this page, Olivia, or you could include this GIF and say, hey, I learned about GIFs, and here's an example. And that's the kind of thing that helps your homepage have a lot of good content. So yeah, great project, so thanks. Let's see, anyone chatting? Anyone watching yet? Oh, 7 viewers, okay, great. Hi everyone. So I'm trying out, I'm noticing that my lighting is not perfect right now. I mean, I have a green screen thing right here, but I have not really played much with the lighting. You can kind of see the shape of it, of where my camera edge is. That's a little bit less noticeable when I have a darker background, but I can see I can see the edges of it right now. I have the lamp here. Let me see. I'm gonna experiment really quickly with the lighting, just to kind of see if I can. I'm not going to hold this up all day, but I wanted to see. I have a lamp, and my theory is that if I can light this more consistently or evenly, no, that's worse. I don't know. It's not super important, but I'm trying to make this effect where I can sort of be on the screen, and like you can't really see my background because you can just see the parts of me that I need to show you. So I'm kind of playing with things like that. So I can point to the GIF, like there it is. There's the GIF. Yeah, so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I just bought a green poster board and literally just glued it to the wall behind me. So that's my green screen set up in here. Great. So there's Olivia in the chat room. Good. Yeah, thanks for letting me show off your work. All right, so let me pull up a few more. And again, I've just pulled these from your submissions. So if you'd rather I not show it, I mean, it's kind of too late because I'm going to show it off anyway. And I'm going to try to focus on section by section. So these should be section 1 submissions. Actually, let me pull up a couple more. The great thing about the methodology module is that there's so many different things you can do, and lots of different technologies you can learn, different skill sets you can try to apply. So that's why I really like the module. In fact, I'm thinking about the fall, so I'm going to be teaching DGST 395. Many of you, I think, will be in that DGST 395, and it's a class that covers a lot, but I feel like I'm still sort of playing with in terms of figuring out what it should cover. So I might actually be essentially revisiting the digital methodology project and kind of turning that into the class for the fall, some version of that. I'm not totally sure, but that's something that there's so many things you can do under digital methodology that just maybe making some more of a semester around that might be useful. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. All right, so let me find. Oh yeah, so this is Courtney. I like this one. I don't know if Courtney's watching. She usually is not able to watch these. She's in a different time zone, but I'm sure she won't mind. So this is, so this is Courtney's, and she was able to get Palladio working. Palladio, it has some limitations. I think the main one being just like if you're not really understanding how it expects your data to be formatted, that can be kind of tricky, and that was something that I know Courtney did run into, but it looks like she got it figured out. So she was interested in Twitter following, so people she follows versus people who follow her, and she was interested in understanding the geographic distribution of those two sets. And I know she was originally trying to match them together, like have this be present on one view, and that didn't seem to work. But this is a map, hopefully, yeah, you can see this. This is the map of people she follows, and you can see her. She's in Southern California, so you can see how there are people distributed all around the world, mostly the East Coast, or I guess from this view it looks like mostly the East Coast, although she was saying that there's actually more concentration in California, which you kind of can't see in this view because they're all sort of piled on top of each other, I think, in that view. So that's interesting. She also used an algorithm. There are a couple different things like this that they'll try to determine the gender distribution of people you follow and vice versa. This is interesting. The trick with it though is that it is based just on names, and so if you've got people who you follow or who are following you who have Twitter names that are unusual, then it may not get it right. Like it may fail. So I'm curious about this for myself. So I'm going to try this. I will say my use of Twitter has declined a lot. Like I don't use my Twitter nearly as much as I used to. But I do want to see if I can do this. Am I not logged in? I guess I'm not logged in. Okay, so I have to look at my password. And the trick with that, I have a password manager, of course. The problem is I have a password manager that keeps track of all my Twitter accounts, and I have 40 or 50 Twitter accounts. So I think at last I counted it was around 46 or 7, I think. The reason is that many of those are Twitter bots, or like accounts that I plan to turn into a Twitter bot, or other things like a class Twitter account that, from back when I used to use Twitter for my classes a lot. Boy, I have so many. I'm just kind of looking through them until I can find the right one. Oh, here it is. No, that's not right. Is this it? No. Well, I guess I'll do this later because I have to look up my password in my password manager, and it's very long. I have it automatically logged in on my laptop, but this is a different computer. So anyway, I'll do that later. It's interesting. All right, so then this is the other one. This is the map of people who follow her, and yeah, interesting. So yeah, so this is followers map. It looks like it's a bit more spread out, although generally the distribution looks pretty similar. I would say that I think that the following followers tend to be reciprocal in Twitter, but I'm interested. It'd be interesting to see how that breaks out. But anyway, this is cool because she was able to use Palladio, and of course the issue with Palladio is like you can't link to it in Palladio, so you have to actually take a screenshot of it essentially or export the data. So that is another limitation, but it still ended up pretty cool. So great, thanks. Wait, I'm actually not looking at the right tab. There I am. So this is the tab. This is the followers map. That's the one that has you can see the distribution is similar to the following. Okay, great. So thank you, Courtney, for letting me show you that. Show people that. I hope that was okay that I did that. Let me see a couple more. So I was curious about Amber's. So Amber made a slideshow showcasing hers, and I have not really looked at it yet, but I like the idea that it's a slideshow because that helps it kind of explain what it is. So Amber was using Voyant, which is the Voyant Tools, which is the text analysis software suite that you can upload text into, and it works through it and gives you different visualizations and analyses of data, so of textual data. So it looks like Amber was using 3 Days Grace lyrics and finding word frequency. Great. And these are some of these words. Great. So these, interesting, because when you see a top set of words or whatever, I found that you do often really have to know the text. Like you have to understand kind of what the source is about in order to interpret the meaning of significant, frequently occurring words. In other words, Voyant helps you kind of enhance the things that you already know about something. And so, so she's doing a good job here of analyzing or interpreting why Riot shows up a lot. So Riot being the lowest is the song, and it has the lowest vocabulary density, so of course it's going to show up more. In other words, it's a low vocabulary density means that it's more repetitive, and so in the song Riot, perhaps they're saying the word riot over and over again. And so that's not a very significant marker as far as its place within the overall corpus. So that's a really good interpretation, Amber. Yeah. Saint Asonia, these are other... these must be different albums. I'm not familiar with 3 Days Grace as a band very much, so I assume these are different album titles. So yeah, good. So this is great. I like this analysis, and this way of presenting it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, good work, Amber. Thanks. Thanks. I hope it was okay that I shared your work there. So let's see. This is who was this? I have many tabs here, so I want to make sure I give credit to the right person and so on. So this is Ashley, and this is a map of World's Fair locations, I think. I mean, I know that's what it's supposed to be. It's loading, so we'll see what it ends up actually, if it actually loads. I hope it does. Cookies, yeah. I haven't looked at this one yet either, so hopefully it works. Oh yeah, looks like it does. Excellent. Oh yeah, great. So, wow, that's a lot. So this is using Time Mapper, obviously, and Time Mapper is great because you can have images here, like you can have slides, and then you can have a map and a timeline, so it kind of puts these all together. So I did not realize there were so many in the 19th century. So that's really great to see this information put together. Now the other thing the great thing about Time Mapper is you can also like there is one in particular, the World's Fair, that I'm interested in because I went to it, and so I'm kind of curious to see. And on the map, that might be it. Yeah, there it is. So the 1982 World's Fair, I went to that one. That was in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was right. And it was actually, can we zoom in? Just make sure that this is the right one. Yeah, there it is. That's Knoxville. Yeah, so I couldn't remember if it was 80 or 82, but it obviously was 82. And look at all these. I didn't realize they were that frequent even in the 1980s. Yeah, I mean, I went to that, and it's crazy. I was quite young, but I do vaguely remember it. I remember getting strawberry milk with my grandma at the World's Fair. I grew up in Knoxville, so that was the memory of that World's Fair, and even the remaining like infrastructure in the city is really still kind of defines the character of the downtown of Knoxville. There's a large structure called the Sun Sphere, which was constructed for the World's Fair. It's basically like a tower with a ball on top, and not huge compared to like the Toronto Needle or something like that, but still pretty significant for Knoxville. So yeah, that I don't know if it's still open, but it used to be a restaurant, and I remember going up into it for that. The Simpsons did an episode about the 1982 World's Fair in Knoxville. Bart and Milhouse get a flyer for it, and they go on a road trip, not realizing that it happened in 1982, and it's whatever year in The Simpsons, and so they don't actually get to go to the World's Fair, but they go to the, I believe they knock the Sun Sphere over, and it cracks open, and it's actually full of wigs. So I don't know why. Anyway, so this is great, actually. So this is really thorough, a lot of information, and I'm curious. I would like to read your explanation. And I'm curious if you had to code each of these or like enter each of these in Time Mapper, or if there's a way for Time Mapper to do things like quickly or automatically from a spreadsheet. That's the case obviously with Timeline.js, but other things like Kumu make it possible to do that relatively quickly. I want to see Amber in the Twitch chat. So hi Amber, yeah, okay, so you're telling me these are different, it's the same singer-songwriter and different band. Okay, great, yeah, that's really useful, that helps a lot. I was obviously very quickly skimming that, but I think Voyant can be great for comparing, like you're doing there, like understanding two different corpora. Like that's really good to do that for. And you can actually, another thing you can try, I don't know if it'd be worth it at this point, obviously you're done, so you don't have to do this, but you can also just combine all of the text from one corpus, like one band's albums, into one document, and then do the other one. And then you would upload those both to Voyant, and so you'd have just a quick side-by-side comparison with Voyant. Maybe you already did that, but that's something that can be helpful too, to just kind of at a glance see left and right who's like which characteristics stand out for each of those different documents. So yeah, very cool. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me show that off, and also Ashley, thanks for, hopefully that's okay for me to show off yours here as well. Oh yeah, Curry's. Yeah, this is really cool. So let me show you this one. This is Curry. I hope this is all right, Curry, because it's online. So this is the you did the visualization module, which is great. So there's yeah, you did the barcodes with several movies. The fabulous. Oh yeah. I am kind of curious because I know you use a slightly different tool, the zero width joiner, and I think probably end up. I mean, it might be interesting to compare the results, like look at your results and then see like what IMJ can do and what ImageJ can do. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, and this one has a smoothness feature. My thing also has a smoothness feature, or it used to. I think I took it out because it was so memory intensive. Basically, you have to take each image and then blur it and then smush it, and that blurring algorithm is just very time consuming. So I ended up taking that out, but it's interesting how this looks side by side. I don't remember if I've ever seen Fabulous Baker Boys, but I definitely remember Heather's, and pretty interesting where you can see certain stripes in it, the bright red. It's a pretty violent movie. It's a movie that I don't think would get made today. So it's interesting. I take that back. It probably would be made today, but you know, different, I guess. I am kind of curious about the zero width joiner code now that I look at it, because I see that the bottom half is kind of shadowed, and I wonder, unless that's something that, okay, I think maybe that was just I think maybe WordPress was just kind of shadowing that, like, to make it like a shadow box kind of look around the figure there, to make it easier to read the caption. Because when I open this in a new tab, it does look flat up and down, like the same color up and down. Yeah, so I'm kind of curious what they're doing with this, because in mine you can select either the average color for frame or the dominant color for frame, so I'm wondering if that does either of those. So interesting. Let me take a look at this software, because you know, if it does the same thing mine does, then maybe I don't need mine as much anymore, or whatever. Yeah, the nice thing, I guess, is I mean, you have to download this one. So if you are working with this on some, if you're working on a computer where you can't download software, like a Chromebook or something, you wouldn't be able to do this probably. But let's see. Looks a lot like. Let me see. I'm just skimming the comments here, trying to understand how it's put together. Do we have source code? Because you said you found it on GitHub, so I'm curious if there's source code for this. I'm not seeing a link from here, unless we'll go to this person's Melvin. This person's movie barcode generator. Great. Yeah, this basic process that I do in my code and that this one does, this is something lots of people have come up with ways to do. So this is always great to find things. Okay, yeah, that's what I kind of figured, that this was a wraparound FFmpeg, which makes a lot of sense. So FFmpeg is going to do the extraction part. I mean, if you wanted to do this purely in a command line, you could use FFmpeg, and then I would use ImageMagick in the command line, and you could do this. But this, I'm sure, does a lot to kind of make that easier. Let me just see what happens here. You know what, I'll look at this later. So anyway, this is very much, like, this is clearly, looks like it's built to be a Windows. Is there only a Windows download? Maybe. Kind of curious. I should have looked at this earlier. It looks like it's a Windows only thing, but where'd that go? Oh yeah, so it looks like it's yeah, it's just it's an exe file. So you would have to use a Windows computer for this. So I won't be able to use it on this Linux one without installing some other things. But anyway, yeah, great to have different options. So great. And also the results are great. I mean, the results look really good. So that's definitely proof that it works. So great. So let me see. Where was I? I'm in a lot of tabs here. If anyone else has projects, by the way, that you would not mind me featuring, then please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of keep looking through a few things here. A couple of reminders, a couple that I've seen. I want to remind you that you do need to write a blog post or create a web page around it. So if you made a timeline or a map or something, make sure that you actually also write a blog post explaining what you did, because that's important anyway, but it's especially important for the methodology things where there's a lot that can go into it, and some of it can be kind of confusing or hard to. It's not necessarily self-explanatory, so you need to definitely explain it. So let's see. I'm just kind of going through Canvas submissions to see what people have submitted already, and hope that's all right. And then we'll kind of wrap it up, I guess. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't think that one probably I shouldn't show off. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking through these, and then I'll show you one whenever I feel like it's okay. But otherwise, let me know if you are watching. If you don't mind me sharing your project, just let me know where it is. Oh yes, this is cool. So this is, I hope this is all right, Emily Johnson. There are multiple Emilys, so I'm clarifying. This is Emily Johnson. This is her text analysis project looking at her own writing, and I think that's a really interesting use of this software to understand how your writing evolves. I've seen students do that in the past, where they take their own writing over time, and then they kind of see their evolution as a writer, but also sometimes these will help kind of expose your habits as a writer or things that you don't realize you're doing as a writer, and it can be a really interesting exercise in just kind of self-awareness, but also like it can help you improve your writing. So this is interesting to look at. I think if I remember correctly, I looked at this before, there were some interesting statistical things here. These are all essays, I believe, and you can see how different terms change over time. So, but I mean, overall, this is a brilliant exposition of text analysis. This is a great analysis Emily's done here, not just of using Voyant, but explaining what Voyant does and kind of going into it in some fair amount of detail. So this is really good. But looking at so this is interesting. So this is just breaking down 3 different essays documents, right? So you can see how these numbers actually kind of correct for some of the differences, right? So empowerment against, I don't know the full titles, but empowerment against is very long. It has 10,000 words in it, and it is therefore has a more diverse vocabulary. More different words are used. That's what types means. These are also pretty high for their size, but you can see that the ratio shows you how the percentage of uniqueness, how distributed that uniqueness is within it. And in fact, the Life in the Forest proposal actually has a greater concentration of different words than empowerment against ad. So in other words, empowerment against ad is a little bit more repetitive in that sense, or it reuses more words more frequently, which is not bad, obviously. It just means that it's a longer document, so of course it will. But that's what that's showing, that and this is good, because if this is a proposal, this is an abstract, I would say that essentially a shorter document, of course it should be more packed with information and more packed with diverse vocabulary. So that's really, that's a good, that's what I would expect, and I can see that the tool kind of confirms that, basically. So that's always good whenever you can do that. But then conflicting sources actually has longer sentences in it, so that's an interesting difference there, that they're both about the same length, and also pretty close in terms of vocabulary density. But the conflicting sources has much longer sentences. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that a digital tool can give you access to and help you understand and appreciate at a different level. So that's always great to see when you can do that kind of thing. Okay, let me see if there's anyone else that I might want to talk about or show off. I'm happy to. Of course, I'm also going to be, as I said, going through and grading a lot of things this week, basically. Oh, this is interesting. I haven't looked at this one. This is crystals. And it looks like crystals using Kumu, which is great because Kumu is it's always fun, and but it's sometimes hard to get. Like, it's hard to like think about how you would use it. So let me look at crystals here, and hopefully, if crystal, whoop, which tab is? Oops, I lost my tabs. Which tab am I showing you all? Okay, so I'm still on this one. I have quite a few windows open. That's the issue, and I have to make sure that I keep putting things into the window that I wanted to show you, that you all can see. Alright, so this is a Kumu map, and if you remember, Kumu is, you have like dots and lines, and you can do different things to decorate those dots and lines, but you don't necessarily need to. Oh, great, yeah. So this is great. So she's got pictures here too, and also a nice description. That's something that sometimes people forget. Like, you can actually describe these things. Oh, this is cool. I'm not super familiar with Degrassi. I know that it exists. Isn't this where Drake got started? Like the rapper guy? Like, wasn't he on this show, or a version of it? Or am I thinking of a different one? Is that him? I can't tell. These pictures are kind of small. But yeah, this is cool. So this is a great demonstration of what you can do with Kumu, like showing relationships between characters and how they're like a family tree kind of relationship. So that's pretty cool. That's a good use of this crystal. So that's what this kind of thing is used for. Oh, Courtney's typing. Hey. I saw Courtney typing on Slack. So yeah, this is great. Good use of Kumu. So let's see. Anyone else? Oh yeah, Caitlin's. Everybody's, the tricky thing too is, okay, thanks, Courtney. And thanks, I don't know if you were on, Courtney, when I was showing your project up. I hope that was okay. I was showing people your methodology project. And this is Caitlin's. I like this one too. This was interesting because I really like the way Caitlin put this into the intellectual context of this kind of work. So, like linking to Salavon, I almost said Savon, but Jason Salavon's work as kind of prior art, and then trying to draw some same conclusions. And so you can see this is a digital collage that Caitlin made just in Photoshop, but that's fine. You don't need to use one of the fancy tools like ImageJ to do that, especially if you only have, I don't know how many images she's using here, but a relatively small number is not unreasonable to do in Photoshop. You could even, I'm pretty sure, write macros for Photoshop that would do that more or less automatically. But working with this in my IMJ tool, that it also lets you look at these things across time. Really rich colors. I mean, and this version Suicide is in 64 frames. Like, that's a really really intense color shift, and like a lot of contrast in each frame. You can tell because of how kind of like chopped up it looks vertically, and that's a lot going on there. So it'd be pretty interesting to kind of start with that, and then start with one of these views and then actually watch the movie and then see what stood out. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to go on forever. I want to wrap things up pretty soon. So if you have any questions you'd like to put to me while I have the stream going, then this could be a good time. Or any final comments, or questions about the class in general. Obviously, this was a weird semester, and everybody knows that, and everybody's dealing with it in different ways. And it feels like forever ago that we actually saw each other in person. But I really liked this class. I mean, I liked the community we developed in person, and that we continue to develop online in our slightly different way. Cecily, can you do that? Can you stop doing that? My daughter's exercising here. Careful. Can you get down okay? All right. Good. Be careful. Anyway, like I was saying, I really did enjoy getting to know you all, and I thought we had a great class. So I look forward to seeing, hopefully face-to-face, seeing many of you again in the fall for DGST 395. I think that'll be fun too. Like I alluded to earlier, I'm kind of changing some of the things I've done about that class. In particular, I don't know. I mean, it remains to be seen, but that's a class where I've tried to do a fair amount with programming, and I don't know if that's always been successful. I think it has been successful for some students, but for many students it has not been. So, and when I say successful, I mean it's something that they didn't really find valuable. So, I think one thing I might do, since we were not able to do HTML or really much web design per se in this DGST 101, that might be something to emphasize instead of programming in the fall version, at least in this fall's DGST 395, to help, because that is a really useful set of skill set. So maybe that'll be something that we do there if you're taking that class. Also, I just wanted to plug one more class. If you're looking for a summer option and you're wanting to make progress on your digital studies minor or your CDS major, there are, of course, some new summer options. I say, of course, hopefully you've seen the information about this, but we're offering a few more classes over the summer. So partly that was a response to, we had to cancel some fall sections because of funding issues, but we were able to offer some more in the summer because they're funded differently. It's kind of hard to explain, but over the summer, I'm going to be teaching a creative coding class. So if you are interested in programming, haven't done it before, but want to see what it's all about, this could be a good introduction to programming for you. You don't have to have any programming experience to take this creative coding class, but if you're interested in doing things with computers, but you're not sure what kinds of things to do, creative coding might be for you. So we're going to be, I'll be teaching you the things you need to know, so you don't need to have prior experience with coding. I would say that if you've had 101, you are well prepared for 301. So check that out if you're interested. 301A. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I can show you some of the works that students have produced for that class. But it's been amazing, some of the work. You might have seen some of it on the HCC media wall back whenever you used to go there a lot. So it's a great class, and I enjoy teaching it a lot. I may not get to teach it again for a while, so if you are at all interested in creative coding, then you should try to take it this summer, because I don't know when I'll get to teach it again. So yeah, check that out. Otherwise, there is the course evaluation in Canvas. Is that still, I always forget how that works, but there's a link somewhere for course evaluations in Canvas. I know they're being dealt with differently this semester, so I don't know. Let me take a look at that real quick here. It's like on the left, I think. Like it looks different for me, but I think on your Canvas, if you're logged in on the website version, there's a link in the navigation that says student evaluation of courses, I think. So do that if you haven't already, I guess. I don't know how to access those, so it's something I don't usually look at until a couple months after a class ends anyway. So if you do have any thoughts about how the class went either before or after this big switch, then and you would like for me to see those things, then you should send them to me. Email me with your thoughts, questions, concerns, or just reflections on the class. That would be great. Of course, don't forget to do your self-evaluation. That's the big one. What I'm going to be doing this week is mainly going through and I'll be grading things, but it'll be a complete, incomplete grade and feedback where necessary. So you should pretty quickly be able to tell if something's missing. If something's missing, I'll send you a note in Canvas and then follow up with email and Slack. Just try to make sure that you can get everything in that you can. You may have also heard, I don't know if you've heard this, because I don't know if this has been announced to students, but faculty got an email last week saying that the option to switch your grade from either a letter grade to the flexible option, the credit no credit option, that they are going to extend the time that you can make that decision to past when final grades are in. So in other words, if you set it one way or the other, but then after you get your final grades, you realize it would have been better to take the other option, you can still change that up to, I think, May 12th. So that's a good option to consider. You may end up with a better grade in this class than you expected, and you might realize sort of after the fact that, hey, it would have been better to take that letter grade. So if that's something that benefits you, then certainly keep an eye out for that. Yeah, so I haven't seen any other questions or anything coming in from the streams, so I'm going to wrap it up, I guess. Oh, I just had Caitlin's view up here still. That's okay, yeah. Well, maybe I'll switch to Degrassi. I really just never watched this show. I don't know. There's so many shows that I've just never, are just totally off my radar. So is Drake in here somewhere? I don't see him. I do know who Drake is. But but I don't see it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, great. So thanks for watching. Those of you who are watching or live or watching this archive stream later on, either way, I think it's been fun to make these anyway. So hopefully they've been helpful for you to watch as well. If you have questions or if you need anything, always feel free to reach out. Otherwise, look for some emails from me this week. If something's missing, you know, I'll try to contact you as soon as I notice that it's missing. Otherwise, you know, if some of us are still going to be meeting to talk about your domains, so I look forward to meeting, I think, 6 or 7 of you this afternoon, and then, you know, in the coming days, anyone else. So, all right, great. So thanks for watching. I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'll start another stream for the 11 o'clock section in a few minutes. So, yeah, if I don't see you, then have a good summer and maybe fall and maybe anything else that comes next. So, yeah. Take care.